Oh, that was by far the hardest deadlift session I've had since I injured my hamstring. So literally for about 3 or 4 months, I haven't had a deadlift session like that. The last few reps were just absolute killers, and I could actually feel, for the first time in a while, a bit of a strain on my hamstring, on my injured hamstring. So I genuinely was going into each set a little bit apprehensive about pulling my hamstring again, and I think it just comes down to a massive amount of fatigue that I've got at the moment. And the reasons for that, first of all, because I've done a 5k this week and that has absolutely ruined me, but also I haven't given myself that much rest. So I was going to rest a day after the 5k, but the weather forecast has said that it's going to be raining for the next 3 days, which meant I needed to push my training forward and just crack on and do it and get it done. So I squatted yesterday, did 170 for 4 sets of 4, paused. That was horrible in itself. And then today I had to do 2 sets of 3 on 220, which is the heaviest I've done for volume on deadlifts for a while, followed by 3 by 5 on 200 kilos on deadlifts, which again is quite a lot of volume. So that with severe DOMs and just feeling very, very beat up, it was a real struggle. But it means I've now got 3 days off from the gym, so I'm literally not going to do anything. I might just go for walks and things like that for my exercise as a bit of recovery. But yeah, I don't want to look at another barbell for at least 3 more days. Okay guys, so for the remainder of this video, I'm just going to be talking to the camera, talking to you guys, and it's not going to be me powerlifting or training or eating, whatever it is I normally do. And there's a reason why I haven't titled the video anything to do with what I'm about to talk about, and that's because I want those of you that click on the videos because you enjoy the powerlifting, the training, the edits, or maybe you just want to support me, to watch this and maybe take on board what I'm going to say, maybe offer some advice, and maybe it will help some of you. So a couple of days ago, my mate Tony sent me a video, and within that video he set me a challenge, and that was to help him lose weight. So the last few days, weeks while we've been in quarantine, he feels like he's definitely put on weight. He's drinking more, but there is an underlying reason why he is doing that, and that's because recently he had a tragedy in his family and he lost his mum. So for someone who lost a parent at a young age, when I was 18, I've been through this grieving phase, and I went down a dark road, as I have documented in this channel before, where I became a compulsive gambler just to distract myself from the reality of what was happening, and that was the fact that I'd lost my dad and that I had to then become the man of the house and the pressure that came with, and I really struggled with that. So I think Tony at the moment is obviously in that grieving phase at the moment, where he's almost finding a coping mechanism to get over that, and that is at the moment eating and consuming more alcohol. So he sent me this challenge to try and help him get back onto that path, which I'm more than happy to help with, because Phoenix Fitness is primarily about second chances and helping people become the best version of themselves. That's where the Phoenix came from originally. That's what it represents, is rising from the ashes. So I want to do what I can to try and help Tony to go down that positive path, rather than going down the path that I did those years ago, where I went into quite severe depression and resorted to gambling and things like that. So I'm going to show you the video which he's said he wants to share with everyone, and just go over the video, and then we'll talk about what we can do to help. And I say what we can do to help because I'm actually going to be setting up a Facebook group which is going to help with exactly these issues, and I'll talk about more about that once we've watched the video.
So, Matt from Fitness Phoenix, I have a challenge for you. As you know, I've had tragedy in the family. I lost my mum, and we all cope with things differently. With myself, out of being routine, I don't normally eat when I'm eating now. Obviously I'm drinking more throughout the day, probably like many of us. Luckily I'm not furloughed, or I am still working, but not to the full capacity which I normally work. So that's almost a 10-hour day, 11-hour day, 5 days a week. I'm up to the highest weight I've ever been, which is around about 12, 10, 12, 11. I would want to get back down to around about 12. Don't get me wrong, a little bit less than that, but I would feel healthy, I'd look good at 12. So I'm about a stone out what I should be. In myself, I look at myself in the mirror, I don't feel great, I don't feel like I look good, like I'm big-headed, but I am partially. My challenge to you, Matt, and the Fitness Phoenix team, or Phoenix Fitness, I want to lose weight, and somebody that does bodybuilding, how are you going to help somebody like me deal with that, lose the weight, take my mind off issues that I've got? Yeah, I look forward to hearing from it, plus I look forward to beating you next week on the bleep test. Cheers mate, bye bye.
Okay, so let's go over that video, and then I'll talk about what I personally feel like I can do to help, and what we can do as a bigger community to actually help as well. So first and foremost, Tony has already done the first thing, which is a massive step in the right direction, and that is actually talking about his concern and his worries. That's something that I didn't do for a long time. When my dad had passed away, I was just bottling up all of my emotions and not discussing it with anybody. So the fact that he's actually reached out, you know, acknowledged that he's got these concerns, acknowledged he's got these problems that are going on at the moment, that is definitely a massive step in the right direction. So I think the next thing is just thinking about people that are in a bit of a rut. Getting the ball rolling and moving in a more positive direction is very hard to do. For me personally, I find goal setting being one of the best things that can actually do to get the ball rolling in the right direction, and you have to start with a short-term goal, and then that can move on to medium-term goals and then long-term goals. So if we start with short-term goals, I think a realistic goal really is to maybe lose somewhere between 800 grams to a kilo in a week, or just over a week. and we'll go over the principles of dieting and how you can actually do that, but just setting the goal initially just to get the ball rolling. So these goals should be SMART goals, or this is the template that I use and I find really reliable. So they need to be specific, so they have to be specific to you. They have to be measurable, so they are objective. You're saying 800 grams to a kilo in a week. They have to be achievable, so can you actually achieve it? Yes, that is a very achievable task. It has to be realistic, so is it actually a realistic task? Yes, because you're not saying I'm going to lose 10 kilos in a week, and it has to be within a time constraint. So what time limit are you going to do that in? So you're giving yourself a week to do that. So those are the SMART goals, and if you set enough of these short-term SMART goals, you can start ticking them off, and they can lead you to your medium goals and then your long-term goals, which is overall losing the weight and getting down to your target weight. In Tony's case, this can be with alcohol as well, so we can use these SMART goals to say, right, this week I'm only going to drink X amount of alcohol, this amount of beer, and use the same format, so the SMART goal, and then eventually you'll get to the point where you're just drinking a lot less than you were originally, and then reach your target long-term goal. So the next thing is really understanding the principles of dieting and how to actually diet. And again, this can be such a hard thing when you're in a rut and you don't really have the motivation to start dieting, and this can be just made so much more difficult when you don't actually understand the fundamentals of how to diet and sort of the biology behind it. So really, if we just go over exactly how you lose weight, it comes down to calories. So everybody has a maintenance amount of calories that they have in order to maintain their body weight. So for me, it's probably just over 3,000 calories. I know that if I was to consume around about 3,000 calories for a year, I wouldn't put on weight and I wouldn't lose weight. However, if I drop that to say 2,500, which is what I'm on at the moment, I know that over a course of X amount of time, I will start to lose weight. And then within that, you need to then think about your macronutrients, and that is to support sort of how your body composition is put together, because anyone can consume 2,500 calories of carbohydrates, but it means you'll probably look like a sack of shit. So it just depends what the macronutrients you're actually having to sort of help with your body composition. So really the rule is having 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. So for me, that's aiming for around 220 grams of protein a day. And then for me, I sort of mix and match my carbs. So I'll probably have around about the same in carbs, and then whatever the calories are left in fat, I'll have there. But you have to then understand what foods have what in them, and then you have to look at labels and understand how much a certain amount of food has a certain amount of calories in it. So knowing that 1 gram of fat is 9 calories, 1 gram of carbs is 4 calories, and 1 gram of protein is 4 calories, just understanding that will stand you in good stead when you're actually making food choices as well. So you know, you could choose this delicious dessert which has got X amount of calories. It's a nice small bit of dessert, but or you got a big old salad, you might think, oh, but this salad is really filling and it's got loads of stuff in it, a big volume of food, but this has probably got a quarter of the calories that this small bit of cake has got in it. So it's about making those choices and understanding what foods have what calories in it. And alcohol has a whole lot of calories in it, but not a lot of macronutrients in terms of nutrition in it. So there's actually no benefits for having alcohol whatsoever. But when you become a bit reliant on it and it's a coping mechanism, it's so much easier just to say, we'll just cut out alcohol, just don't have it, because it's a coping mechanism. You need it to actually make you feel better. And it's just understanding the psychology behind that, and trying to work out if there's other things that you can do to be your crutch or your coping mechanism. For me, that was powerlifting or fitness. So if you can actually find something to channel your energy in a better way, then you won't actually need these things like alcohol to get you through this grieving process or this rut that you're in. So apologies if you've noticed the lighting has changed a little bit. My camera ran out of battery, so I had to go and charge it up, and it's a little bit later in the day and I'm recording this a bit later now. But we were talking about diet and how that can be used to get yourself into a caloric deficit to lose weight. But obviously exercise is good to complement the diet as well. People say that it's 70% diet, 30% exercise, and I do believe that's true, but exercise definitely has a place to help burn those extra calories to help you lose weight. But it also depends what you want to do in terms of body composition as well, and what you enjoy doing in terms of exercise. If your primary goal is just to lose weight, then being in a caloric deficit is just the way forward, and you can pretty much do whatever exercise you want to do as long as you can stay in a caloric deficit. However, from a body composition point of view, it's good to mix up what exercises you do, and again, it's kind of what you prefer doing. I think that's the key, because whatever you prefer doing and like doing means you're most likely to adhere to that and actually stick with it. So it's just good to understand the two types. There's obviously aerobic training, which is your cardio, your running, your cycling, that sort of thing. And then there's more anaerobic stuff, so that's your more bodybuilding, resistance training. And it's good to look at doing some resistance training from a body composition point of view if that's what you want to do, just because with resistance training you'll be able to progressively overload your muscles and stimulate your muscles to actually grow, and obviously with the more muscle you have, the more energy you're going to need, therefore you can actually eat more food. That's why bodybuilders and powerlifters that are really bulky need more food to fuel their muscles. So resistance training definitely has its place if you actually want to eat more food and consume more stuff, because then your body's just going to use that energy more. So it's good to think about that, but I think primarily you're going to have to want to do it, otherwise you're just not going to stick to it. So with resistance training, there's so many programs out there that you can follow, and they can be body weight exercises as long as you're progressively overloading it. So either increasing the weight, the sets or the reps each time you do it, you're going to be progressively overloading and stimulating the muscle. So it's definitely worth doing that from a body composition point of view, and also cardio from a health point of view. So just obviously with your healthy heart and everything, it's good to do cardio as well. And to be honest, just, you know, there's enough evidence to suggest that doing exercise anyway releases endorphins to make you feel better as well. So exercise is definitely a good route to go down in terms of a coping mechanism, as we've mentioned before, but it's about finding what exercise is most suitable for you. And I think the last thing I want to talk about, it's not necessarily about exercise and diet and that sort of thing, and not really about how you look, but it's about how you feel, and that is really about having a good support network around you, and talking to the right people, and just making sure that you're doing things that are keeping you busy but also keeping you out of trouble, so you're not doing things that are just going to lead you down the negative path and steer you in a better direction. And I definitely think talking to people helps. I talk to the camera, I talk to people through YouTube in a way, and that's my way of kind of expressing myself and being able to talk to people, not necessarily face to face, but it is a way of actually expressing how I'm feeling, and if I'm feeling a little bit crap, actually talking to the camera, although it's not directly to someone, knowing that it's actually reaching someone does actually help me. That being said, I have created a Facebook group which is going to be primarily for people that have lost someone and are going through a bit of a rut and don't really know where to turn, and it's just to provide a support network for those sort of people, maybe a similar age to me, but it's open to all ages that are grieving at the moment and need someone to talk to, need some advice, be that through fitness or just activities that they have found worked. So I'm going to be creating a group called Good Grief, and that's going to be on a Facebook page. I'm in the process of creating it at the moment. I want to make sure that it's properly done before I actually set it up, but hopefully if it is done by tomorrow, I've started now, but hopefully if it is done, I'm going to put a link in the description. So I just encourage anybody that is going through grief and feel like they can't talk to anyone about it, I feel like this is going to be a good group to be able to talk to people and actually interact, share ideas, different things that they've tried to actually get through that. So hopefully it's going to be a good support network. I'm actually really looking forward to getting it started and getting people contributing onto it. So yeah, I just wanted to share that with you guys, and I hope this is going to help Tony as well. I'm going to send him a personal video as well to actually go through this, and we're in this together because I'm dieting at the moment as well. We all have our ups and downs with this, so I'm really looking forward to working with him to just try and get us both in better shape as well, and just it's nice to be able to do that with him. So yeah, that's pretty much the video, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've taken something away from it, and if you do want to join this group, like I say, I'll put a link in the description, and just contact me as well from my various social medias if you want to talk about anything really. But yeah, bit of a different video, guys, but I hope you've enjoyed it. Please like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Peace.